Anyway, first I'll explain what I was expecting. So, like, just based on, like, what you showed me and just kind of what I looked into, I was kind of expecting something of a bit of a dungeon crawler game with turn-based gameplay because I saw some of that shit. And the idea is that you also have this good old kind of strumpets thing where you raise your own people, in this case monsters, and I've actually played several games where it's like, oh, you fuck them, and that makes them give birth, even though, you know, interspecies shit. But yeah, I thought it was gonna be a combination of that, kind of like just breeding your own monsters and then taking them into dungeons and have them like fight for you in a party, and then you would fight other monsters, and then based on if you win or not, you might maybe at least some special monsters you might be able to collect and get to your barn or whatever you want to call it, so you can breed them as well. And if you lose, then Monster Girl quest style, you get raped to death or something like that, or they just raped. I don't know. So yeah, that was kind of what I expected. Yeah, kind of a dungeon crawler thing. You either get raped and lose, or you get more monsters that you can breed and make money off of and help you fight and stuff. And the game is, to its credit, partly that. Very partly. So I'll go from the beginning. First of all, you'd of course have a long ass introduction in text form, and yeah, and yeah, immediately the tropes start to show because you arrive through an airship that is also a whale to a floating island, because this whole world is floating islands. Like, fuck, why is that so popular? It's cool sometimes. Like, it's cool when Miyazaki does it, but not when sex games do it. Yeah. But yeah, immediately I'm trying to think. There's something that stood out to me very early. I think I'll think of it. I'll just keep talking. I don't want to get too stuck on... I was thinking about how to put this yesterday, and had I said it yesterday, then it would probably be good, because then it was fresh, but now it's a day old. But anyway. So, first you get kind of an NPC to show you around. You can be like, hey, you want to skip right to the gameplay, or do you want to go through the town first? And I mean, obviously I do that because I kind of want to see what the game has to offer. What's the town look like? What is there to do? And of course, how are they going to present it? First of all, one thing I noticed with the dialogue is that each character has a custom name tag. Like, you know, they have their names above their speech. And instead of just using a standard font for all of them, like they do with text and stuff in pretty much every other game, they have these elaborate artworks for them. Like, some might have a board with like nails forming their name, and another might have a sheet of ice with the name carved in, and one might have a fucking rubber tugboat with the string or something. I don't know. I still haven't figured out what that one is. And it's so unnecessary. It's just more art that you're wasting your time and money on when the gameplay is so lacking. And also, it's sometimes really fucking hard to read. Like, some characters I could just not learn the name of because I couldn't figure out what they were saying, and I wasn't paying attention when they were being introduced. So yeah, that was immediately an annoying thing. And also one thing I noticed is that there is no separation between when the characters do something in conversations and when they're saying it. Usually in this kind of visual novel kind of like, it's not a visual novel, not at all, but it's kind of a yeah, as I said, like you kind of got this hub world thing where you move around and shit, and then you do turn-based encounters and stuff like that. But yeah, when you do dialogue, it's kind of that big text box and shit. And usually when you do that, if a character is doing something as opposed to saying something, it's usually, you know, you put it in asterisks or you put it in italics or something like that. There's no difference. You just gotta figure it out based on what it says. So I am so fucking glad that there's not a single character who talks in third person, because that would be impossible to tell what they're doing. Like, character likes you, character smiles, character picks up box. Are they saying it or are they doing it? Actually, maybe there is some character who does that, and I just didn't notice because it wouldn't be possible to tell. Now I remember what I was going to say earlier, because the first thing I noticed, of course, was the movement. You have two types of movement. You have clicking where you want to go, and you have moving with the arrow key, so well, WASD. I first tried WASD and immediately noticed something. A fucking beginner mistake. Like, you know, you have all these directions you can turn in based on what direction you're moving in. But it's only diagonal, so if you move, like, downwards, then you're kind of facing diagonally and walking down. That's okay, I don't really care. The problem is that they have a default angle they're looking at, so maybe if they might be facing left, and then you move them upwards, suddenly they're facing right instead. Just because that's just a default way they move when they are moving upwards. And if you press like up and left, then they move left again. But as soon as you not press left anymore, then they snap right back to right. And it's such an easy thing to fix. Like, I have fixed it several times in different ways when making games, and sometimes I don't even have to fix it because just the basic way I do it, it just kind of works itself out automatically. So it was obviously, like, it's obvious that they first did it with mouse and they just wanted some more ways of doing it, and they half-assed it to hell. And the fucking mouse thing doesn't even work because you keep getting stuck on shit. Like, you just get stuck and then you can't move out of the way, and usually you can just fiddle your way out of it using the arrow keys, which I'm not going to say because it's faster, even though you can't actually move with the arrow keys. But yeah, so it's generally easier to use the mouse, but it comes with the downside that you keep getting stuck on random fucking backgrounds shit that looks like it should be in the background, but it's actually a physical object. And I still couldn't figure out the collision how it works. Like, usually in this kind of thing you have a tile-based system, but they just have a big fucking clutter of art, and it has collision, and I don't know if it's like pixel perfect or if it's like a series of ambiguous boxes or what it is. It's like, that is one of the telltale signs that you are an artist and not a game developer, because you don't know the fundamentals of like fucking collision boxes. Another big mistake that I immediately noticed, well, very fast, is that there are a ton of characters just kind of like standing around and lots of like locations and stuff, and most of it is not interactable. Like, there's like 6 or 7 locations and characters you can actually talk to, and there are so many that seem so obvious you can talk to them. Like, there's a shady guy standing right by an alley. You think, oh, this is gonna be some kind of trader of illegal goods you can talk to. No, you can't talk to him. It's just there as fucking artwork. There's some kind of like shipment place with a big fucking shark guy who's like, oh yeah, that is so eye-catching that I have to be able to go there. No, you can't. It's just there. It's just art. And like, there's even a fucking, like, most of the doors you can't enter because there's nothing there, which makes it really hard to tell what doors you can enter, so I actually missed a few locations. But one I managed to go into and there was nothing there. Like, it was empty but also full, because it was full of furniture and stuff, but none of it could be interacted with. It was just an empty room with nothing to do. And like, why would you add that? Why would you add all that artwork again when you have so much other places to focus on? Like, why would you add any of this? I mean, it's obvious what they're doing. It's obviously like, hey, we have the promise of all of this stuff that you are one day actually going to be able to interact with. But no, I'm not going to, because you suck at this. You suck at actually making the game happen. I'm never going to be able to talk to the shark guy or the shady guy in the alley. And if I am, I'm not going to be able to talk to all the other people. So yeah, that is immediately horrendous. It like, fucking walking through the town took way longer than it should have, because I just kept walking up to things I couldn't talk to, hoping that was what I was supposed to do. But no. And yeah, eventually you actually get through the whole thing and realize that you probably wouldn't have had to do that anyway, because I'm not going to play the game long enough to actually use any of the shops. But yeah, also, one thing I noticed about the dialogue, about the writing in general, it's not good. Yeah, like, one thing I noticed, like, one line that stood out to me a lot was when you go into the seed shop. Then the guy, like, your character, you're a farmer in the game, so your character kind of introduces himself as like, oh, I'm the new farmer, and then he says, oh, I guess I'll be seeing you a lot then, and you'll probably be one of my best customers. Like, that last thing that was just you repeating what you just said. You don't need 2 ways of saying you will be shopping here a lot. Like the first line was fine. Just don't add another one. You just seem like an idiot. And there are like little issues like that all over. And then there was of course also the occasional spelling mistake or like missing word or like amateur mistakes. And I looked at the Patreon goals a while like after playing, and one of the stretch goals that they don't have yet is that they're gonna hire a full-time writer, and I was like, oh, that's why they don't have a writer. They just kind of suck. But the thing is that in that fucking goal description, they say that they're gonna hire a full-time writer instead of doing what they're currently doing, which is just hiring writers just without full-time. Just kind of saying, hey, write some stuff for us and we'll pay you. So they are fucking paying people for this shit that they could have written themselves unless they are complete fucking idiots. And like, if you're going to pay people to write, I do not expect this level of quality. I expect passable writing. This is like meh quality. That is not something you should be investing money in. You are fucking taking money from these poor naive people who are investing so much in your shitty fucking project. Yeah, I haven't even actually gotten to the gameplay yet. Which I'm gonna get to now, because the first thing you find when you actually arrive at your place, where you're gonna be spending most of the time in the game, presumably, is that there's a farm, because as I said, you're a farmer. So that's the game is actually divided into 3 overall categories, unless I'm forgetting one, which is farming, fighting, and breeding. One of these should not be there, and it's the first one. Yeah, so the farming is atrocious. Like you gotta, like, you have these plots of land, of course, and you have these tiles that you can plant in, and you gotta stand pixel perfectly right on them, and then you gotta move to the corner of the screen to press that you wanna dig up a hole, then you wanna plant a seed, then you wanna water it, which you do every day. And that sounds relatively simple except for the pixel perfect thing, but there are actually several issues. First of all, you have to refill your watering cannon every once in a while, and that's annoying. Second of all, you have to do it all individually. There's nothing like in fucking Stardew Valley or even Farmville where you, at least over time, get the ability to like do it faster. It's always as tedious. And also, another layer of annoyingness is that you can't select what kind of seed you're going to plant just from your inventory or something like that. Like, that would make sense. You have to walk over to a fucking chest that's like in a different area, and so that contains all of your seeds, and you gotta select from that one which one you want to have like active. So each time you run out of that kind of seed, you also gotta go back there, presumably, unless the next... And I never had 2 kinds of seeds even, because I didn't play for that long. I just sow the fucking 10 seeds you start with and then never look back. So yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, you're not gonna be Farmville. No, sorry, you're not gonna be Stardew Valley, but you're not even going to be Farmville. You're not gonna be a good farming game. There are way too many good or passable or just better farming games out there. And I'm sorry, but you are an adult game. I expect the adultness to be the focus, and everything else is just gonna be an annoying distraction. And the entire farming system is a fucking distraction because there's nothing adult about it. It's not the fact that you can feed the plants to your animals, but I mean, can't you find a better way to do that? Like, I don't want to spend a bunch of time farming when I'm looking to fucking play an erotic game. I want the fucking gameplay to be some degree of erotic. Like, I know, just don't have it full on just all porn. Then it's not really a game, but don't have it be all game and no porn. Or if you're going to do that, have the game be good. It's not good to do that kind of farming shit. I just want to play Stardew Valley instead. And install some poor mods that still don't exist. I mean, come on, modding community. You know we want it. But yeah, so farming is atrocious, and it's probably the most expanded part. But then you also have the breeding, and you start off with like 4 monsters. And by start off, I mean they are the only ones you can have. Yeah, I'm gonna get to that a bit later, but yeah. So you get some basic interactions. You can pet them, which I don't know what it does. I guess it increases their morale or something, and you can feed them stuff that you farm to increase their stats, and you can check their stats, and you can milk them, which just kind of gives you something, I don't know, I guess you sell it, I don't know. I didn't look into that because I didn't care. But then, of course, you can also breed them. And that's when the sexual animations come in, and when you do that, you presumably impregnate them, except if you're doing it the gay way, in which case I don't really know what you're doing. Like, there are still gay animations, but it doesn't really serve a purpose. So from a gameplay perspective, you would just always milk the ones that are the same gender as you. But yeah. So somehow, and you also can't have the monsters like fuck each other. That's, I guess, how you make it work, even if your character is the same gender as the monsters, so to make sure that you have maximum amounts of babies. And yes, you can like the whole interspecies thing. That doesn't matter. All you need is cum. Doesn't matter what kind of cum. But yeah, all the monsters then give you eggs, and I tried to incubate some eggs and see what happens, but when I put them in the incubator, I then saw that, oh wait, when I selected put eggs in incubator, all of them went in there. What if I don't want to do that? I'm gonna see how this UI works. I tried to deselect them by clicking them, and yeah, that happens. Then they disappear from the incubator, but they disappear from existence. So they did not go back to my inventory or something. I just deleted them by clicking on them. So it's all or nothing. Why the fuck would that be an option? Like, who would want to fucking remove their eggs if they don't get them back? I can see why people wouldn't want to put all of them in there, I guess. I don't really know if there's any benefit to not doing that, but yeah. Like, why? Why would you give the people the option to remove their eggs? I'm pretty sure that they don't want to do that. I don't think they want to just wait like a few more days just so that they can get some more of them. But then again, I don't really see the point of having more animals anyway, because there's not enough content for them, which is to the fucking gameplay. I mean, no, not the gameplay, the third part of the gameplay. The combat. Which is horrible. Yeah, like, the thing is that the combat is actually kind of alright. And also, one thing I forgot to mention, there are actually sex animations between each type of animal, well, monster, but they're sprite animations, so they're like very low def, and I'm like, why do you even bother at that point? I guess someone would enjoy that, I guess I would, but that's something to add in late in the project when you got most of the things done. I don't really think that looking at some low def sprites fucking, as nice as that is sometimes, is worth missing out on all the gameplay you could have been adding in that time. And yeah, anyway, I mean, I checked out the library, just kind of scrolled through it, like, oh, this is all the stuff that I'm gonna be seeing in game. And there were some interesting monsters there, I guess. I mean, you know that, you checked out the animations, and you know, there's snake people, and there's demons and stuff like that. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do dungeons and see if I can find me some of those, because hopefully that's how it works. Because I want some of those, because as nice as this cat girl thing is, and the other ones, I guess, kind of, I would like me some snakes. Yeah, snacks are very good. So, I go to the dungeon, well, not the dungeon, the place where you, like, sign up for a dungeon mission. And immediately, that is when I notice one of the big issues with the game. You mow too fucking slowly! Like, because in order to get to the dungeon, you have to walk all the way back, because your fucking house is literally as far from the docks where you go to the dungeons as possible. So you gotta go through the entire town at your slow ass walking speed that should be 3 times faster. And in a similar manner, like, if you want to go somewhere else, you also gotta go along, because everything's very big, everything's very neatly spread out all over the fucking town. And it's such a big place with so little stuff in it. I fucking hate it! Like, I would much rather have just a Strumpets kind of overworld map where you just have this place where you click on the buildings you want to go into. I don't really care about this overworld map that is interactive when it's hardly interactive. Oh yeah, it's a huge emphasis on the art, and that's what I'm gonna get to now, basically now. So I go to the dungeon, and I'm just gonna tell you right... No, wait, I'm gonna save this one, because this was a pretty big what the fuck moment when I first saw it, which was at the very beginning of the game, because it's in the loading screen, but I want to save this one, because this is a neat little surprise. So I go to the dungeon, and it's atrocious, because it's a series of tiny floating islands that you gotta jump between, which would be okay if the place you're gonna be to jump over them wasn't so hard to find. Like you would expect it would just be to walk to the edge where you see this kind of like middle island to jump on, but no, you gotta be like in just the right spot. So you gotta kind of like walk around in circles and a little bit for a little while until you figure out that, ooh, this is what I'm supposed to. Now my character just jumps over. So how hard is it? Just put a fucking collision box in that general area so that when you get close enough, you just jump over it, because it's a pretty big island that you're walking on. You're not gonna accidentally go to the wrong one. And basically what you can do in here is find money in the form of big ore piles, which I don't really understand. I mean, you don't have tools or anything, and you can also find some seemingly pointless plants. It's pretty much all the loot there is. But then there's also enemies, of course. And they're all the same. They're all a band of pirates with like several mini pirates and one big pirate guy. No monsters. All pirates. Seriously. And the combat is honestly not that bad even. Like, it's bad in some ways. Like, it has this thing where instead of having set turns, you have turn bars, and when they fill up, it's your turn, so you have different enemies and party members that are faster at picking their turn. However, the problem is that this is like a little bar below the health bar on each character, so you never have any idea who it is. Like, one game I saw that had its system had one big bar, and then little characters' portraits like kind of moving along the bar so that you had a pretty good idea about who was going to be next. Here you kind of gotta keep track of all of the little bars at once, which is fucking incredibly stupid! So yeah, fortunately the game is pretty fucking easy, so I didn't really have to worry about that anyway. Especially if you bring one of the characters that has like AoE attacks that even gain damage the more enemies there are, which is great when you have all these fucking mini-goons. Kind of unbalanced. But yeah, the actual characters, like the mechanics behind them are pretty nice, I guess. They got passive abilities, they got special abilities that do stuff like increase turn bar progress and stun enemies and, you know, basic shit. It's kind of nice. And some of them even like work off each other, so that if this party member is on your team, then this other party member doing this is gonna give them some kind of boost or something like that. So it's even kind of has a team attack idea I had from my game, which is pretty neat, I guess. Except now I'm not first with it anymore. Probably wasn't anyway. But yeah, as I was hoping for, you can actually bring your monsters with you, which I guess is neat, if there was more to the actual dungeoneering part. But yeah, and also the sprites, because yeah, you have sprites for combat too, and animations for each and every ability, which brings me to one of the things that you often do in these kinds of games, where you don't actually have an animation for every ability, and usually you even go for kind of a, like most games just have the same basic model with different like clothing and shit to make sure that all characters can use the same set of animations to make it more frugal. And even games that don't do that, like Mario RPG, they make sure that they don't use too many animations for each character. This game has a unique animation, a pretty elaborate one, for each single skill, and several other states, like being stunned and shit. And that probably takes up so much time and work and money, and I just don't care. It looks cool, but it shouldn't come at the expense of everything else! Yeah, it's so over-focused on the art, and even like the animations feel kind of wonky. Like some animations feel, like some idle animations especially feel like they're too fast or a bit unpolished, or that they stop at a little too fast, that they just don't loop very well. But like, that's a nitpick. They just shouldn't be there to begin with, really. I wouldn't really care. Give me an idle animation, and that's pretty much all I need. You can just illustrate the actual skill effect with some kind of like, I don't know, what they usually do with like a sword, like instead of just actually having the character go up there and hit them with a sword. I don't care. I just want more game. But yeah, so you just fight these pirates, and then you end the mission. And now I'm going to tell you the thing that is in every loading screen, which is note that this is a... Oh, wait, okay. So in every time there's a loading screen in this game, which, by the way, have several elaborate artworks randomized between each one. Again. But yeah, it always has the same text, it usually has some kind of tip or something, but this is the same as every time, which is note that this is an alpha version, and therefore there's only one dungeon, and don't expect it to reset on every day. So there's only this one dungeon. As far as I can tell, you cannot go back to it and play it again. It's still just, like you can, but it's still dead. Presumably, I didn't actually try because I don't want to walk all the way back there. But yeah, it resets perfectly. There's fucking nothing else to do once you've played it once. Then you are stuck with the farming and the breeding. Only one dungeon. It's tiny and disappointing. And yeah, I'm still not sure, but as far as I can tell, you can't even replay it. And even if you can, that's not much better. It's still a shitty dungeon. There's still only one. So that's the entire game, basically. It has like 10 minutes of actually engaging content, and I'm using engaging kind of loosely. And one thing that came to mind when I was done with that disappointment was, where was all those extra monsters? Where was the snake and the cyclops and all the other ones? Turns out that they're only animations. Their animations are in the game, but not them. So they are actually so focused on the artwork and animations that they add it without adding the gameplay associated! Which is like, don't make a game, don't pretend that you're making a game, just set up a Patreon account saying, we are making animations. That's good enough! The animations are the only good part of the game! The game is just in the way of the animations! Because everything else sucks! And you think it's like you don't even think it's important either, clearly, because you're not even getting gameplay associated with the artwork that's in the game. The best part of the fucking game, the fucking elaborate part, is the library of animations in the fucking menu. So it's just a big fucking scam. And they just have all these Patreon goals they haven't reached yet about more animators and more fucking coders. And it's like, your focus is so backwards and up and down and in and out and sideways and I don't know, fucking every direction the fucking elevator in Willy Wonka goes. It's just so fucking frustrating that people are giving so much money to this. I am always so fucking frustrated with idiots giving money to causes that are so dumb. Like, can't you see what your money is going to? Can't you see it's not moving anywhere? This game is in like, I don't know, it's like has lots of versions, and it's still this bad. It's still so lacking, and most of what's been added is stuff that isn't in the game. It's so clear that these are just artists that want to do art, but for some reason also want to do a game, but they suck so hard at the game that not even they bother. So yeah, if I can figure out a way to just have the library and nothing else, then that would be great, because now here's another real kicker. This game is, I'm actually gonna check because I still have it right here. I'm just gonna check. Yeah, it is 8.81 gigabytes. Like, that fucking game, I don't remember what it's called, but that was another game with kind of a... What? Oh yeah, that's the game. That one was, I don't remember, it was somewhere between like 2 or 3 gigabytes, and that's still a lot for a visual novel game, but it still had a lot of like idle animations going on as opposed to stiff portraits, and it had some animations, albeit not very good ones, because for fuck's sake, if you have a girl with a dick, you get her to use it. You don't shove a dick into her. But yeah, that aside, they also had like a pretty robust character creator, which again, you hardly see your character, and when you do, not all of what you get edited into it in the character creator is there, and no matter what, you're still recognized as a guy, even if you have a pussy and boobs, and even then you still have a dick when you're fucking in the animation and stuff like that. Like, it's also a very unfinished game that is also probably not run very well, but at least I can see kind of a justification for the size of that one, and it's like a fucking quarter of the size. Like, what is here should be like, I don't know, maybe at most 1 gigabyte, really. And I'm gonna check another thing real quick here. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, I currently got 10 episodes of Creep School on my computer, and it makes up a total of less than 600 megabytes. So I don't even think that the animations is that much of an excuse for the size. I think it's just port optimization. Like maybe, of course, maybe like fucking MP4 files take up more space than in-game animations. I don't know. I don't know how that works. But still, 8 gigabytes. You need to optimize the shit out of that. No, it's more like 9 gigabytes. It's way closer than that. It's like fucking 19 units away from that. 190 megabytes. I think I'm tired as fuck. I'm not gonna do the math. So yeah, the game is huge in size, minimal in content, and what content is there is atrociously made for the most part. The only good part is the animation, so don't play the game, don't support it, just watch the animations.